Welcome to NeoUnrealist. The natives are restless, my friends. Chuck Hoskin Jr., the Secretary of State for the Cherokee Nation, issued the following statement yesterday, Monday, October 16, 2018. This letter is in response to Senator Elizabeth Warren, aka Pocahontas, aka Pocahontas, and her insulting and failed release of a widely discredited analysis of a DNA test in an attempt to substantiate her claim to be a Native American of the Cherokee tribe. It reads as follows. A DNA test is useless to determine tribal citizenship. Current DNA tests do not even distinguish whether a person's ancestors were indigenous to North or South America, Cherokee Nation Secretary of State Chuck Hoskin Jr. said. Sovereign tribal nations set their own legal requirements for citizenship, and while DNA tests can be used to determine lineage, such as paternity to an individual, it is not evidence for tribal affiliation. Using a DNA test to lay claim to any connection to the Cherokee Nation or any tribal nation, even vaguely, is inappropriate and wrong. It makes a mockery out of DNA tests and its legitimate uses, while also dishonoring legitimate tribal governments and their citizens, whose ancestors are well documented and whose heritage is proven. Senator Warren is undermining tribal interests with her continued claims of tribal heritage. Wow! It sounds like the Cherokee Nation BTFO'd Elizabeth Warren. What the hell did she think was going to happen? Let's look at what she actually released and why this is so ridiculous and insulting of the Cherokee. First, Elizabeth Warren didn't issue just, some press release and put out the test. No! She got some stooge reporter at the Boston Globe to write some sycophantic article about this, and she released a political campaign-style video complete with editing, music scoring, simultaneous bi-coastal camera shots. This thing had about as much Hollywood production value as, the average Avengers movie. Now, it was so obvious that she was once again using her false claims about being a Native American to benefit politically. Even some Democrats were left cringing and wondering why 2 weeks before the midterm elections, Warren would do something so stupid and distract from their message. They lost just about the entire news cycle yesterday to this debacle as it blew up in Warren's face. This expert she presented, this Carlos Bustamante from Stanford, he doesn't even conclusively say Warren has a Native American ancestor. What he actually said was that his analysis, so he didn't even perform the DNA test himself. He's analyzing the results of someone else's test. In any event, he says his analysis of the test is that it provides, quote, strong evidence Warren had a Native American in her family tree dating back 6 to 10 generations. Strong evidence of one single solitary full-blooded Native American 6 to 10 generations back. Probably in the 8th generation, according to his best guess. In a comparison of DNA, get this, not with genetic material from actual Native American Indians, no. Due to the lack of sufficient quantity of Native American DNA to compare to, it led to the test to substitute DNA from the indigenous populations as far away as another continent, Peru, Colombia, and Mexico. But let's, for the sake of argument, let's even accept, at face value, Elizabeth Warren's own spin and her take on the analysis. A single full-blooded Native American ancestor in the most advantageous position for Warren's claims would place her blood quantum at 1 in 64. 1 in 64. Who is this lady trying to con? In the worst case scenario, at 10 generations back, you're looking at, if this can be believed that she would even try this, a claim to be Native American based on a 1 in 1024 blood quantum. According to Bustamante, His best estimate is one full-blooded Native American 8 generations ago for a ratio of 1 in 256. 1 in 256 is 0. Let me repeat that. A whopping 0.39% of Indian genetic contribution. Literally a rounding error. Because if you were to express it in a percentage in whole numbers, as is the standard practice for reporting on percentages, you'd have to round it down to 0. But let's be kind. Let's throw Senator Warren a bone and not round her down to 0 as any sane person would. Let's give her even the best case scenario. One full-blooded Native American ancestor 6 generations ago. Oh, excuse me. I have to laugh as we do this. I want to know how many of you can even name an ancestor 6 generations back. I mean, that's not your mother. It's not your grandmother. Not your great-grandmother. Or your great-great-grandmother. Not your great-great-great-grandmother. But one of your great-great-great-great-grandmothers. Great-grandmothers. I'm not even going to try to do that with the 8 or 10 generation back ancestor tree. Alright, so this 0.3%, how does it stack up, you might ask, to other white people? You know, how much do other European Americans typically test out at when they do the same kind of test? Why, Elizabeth Warren and her expert were so kind as to provide a comparison to the average percentage of Native American DNA possessed by European Americans in Utah. Yes, Utah. I'm not making this up. This is what they picked as their comparison. Utah, where the overwhelming majority of white people are Mormons. Mormons, until modern times, being one of the single most insular and isolationist populations in America. This is a population that until the more recent generations, I think they stopped officially practicing polygamy in 1904, and women were calling each other sister wives because more often than not, they were to some degree or other blood relatives. As late as the, was it 1978, the laws of the Mormon Church wouldn't even allow black clergy. So by choosing the descendants of Great Plains pioneer Mormons as their comparison, they were comparing Elizabeth Warren to white people who went out onto the distant prairie and until about 100 years ago only had little contact with outsiders, to the point that President James Buchanan had to send an army to Utah to confront the Mormons under Brigham Young to put an end to Young's theocratic rule of the Utah Territory and things like polygamy. That state of war existed from 1857 to 1858. It was just before the Civil War. As I said, it wasn't until 1896 that things even calmed down enough for Utah to be admitted as a U.S. state. So Warren has 12 times more Native American blood than the average white person, from the formerly insular to the point of requiring the U.S. president to send an army into the territory to open it up, Utah. Well, fit Elizabeth Warren for a feather headdress, I guess, right? Wrong. Researchers at Harvard University and 23andMe, they published a study of over 160,000. Let me repeat that number. 160,000 people's genetic samples. A study an order of magnitude greater than previous genetic studies and about as accurate as you can get short of doing a mandatory genetic testing of the entire U.S. population. The Harvard and 23andMe genomic analysis found that the average white American's genome is 0.18% Native American. Wait, what? So are you telling me that according to the world's leading experts on the human genome, all Elizabeth Warren has proven is that the percentage of her genome that is Native American is more or less the same as the average white American, and very possibly even less than average? Notice their pick was Utah. There's a lot of other places they could have picked in America to compare Warren to than Utah. Had they picked, oh, I don't know, the white population of the state of Louisiana, the genome of the average white person in Louisiana is 8%. Not 0.8%, 8%. By Elizabeth Warren's reckoning, the entire state of Louisiana should claim to be Native Americans. I'll put it in the most simplest way I can. What the Harvard and 23andMe genealogical study tells us is this. If you are a white American, go back in your family tree 8 generations, as Elizabeth Warren has done. That would place you as far back as the late 1700s, about the time when the country was founded. You'd have a 2 to the 8th power, or 256 people, in your direct ancestor family tree in that generation. The Harvard and 23andMe study numbers show that the odds for the average white American, of which there are about, what, 200 million? One of those people out of the 256 is going to be Native American. So Elizabeth Warren, even if you take her at her word, what she's shown is she, at best, is about as Native American as the rest of the white population of 200 million or so people, even less so. But with the percentage admixture so microscopically small, it's a distinction without a difference. Think about it. In the Deep South, at the height of the most open and overtly racist time in 19th century and very early 20th century America, when they were passing anti-miscegenation laws at the state level and legally defining who was white, black, or Native American, even those legislatures, many of whose members fought in the Confederate Army over the issue of slavery and maintaining white supremacy, most of them drew the line at needing 1 in 4 ancestry to be declared non-white, 1 in 8 sometimes. The strictest of all laws ever enacted for the most briefest of times was at worst 1 in 16. It appears Elizabeth Warren and her supporters, they want to blow right past the Jim Crow era southern states and bring in the one-drop rule, full-blown. I never thought I'd see the day when Democrats openly declare themselves in agreement with the alt-right on race. I guess this means Richard Spencer, he's going to come out for Elizabeth Warren in 2020. That's all for this New Unrealist. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to keep up with the new content. Follow the Patreon or PayPal links in the description if you want to support the channel with your hard-earned shekels, or just use the tip pledge button if you're watching on BitChute. Thanks for watching.